You are not going to see the people you see in this parade daily. You're not going to see them on billboards. You're not going to see them unless you uncover something to look for them. And in this case, you're not needing to uncover because we're going to bring it to you.
Olivia Nuamah became the executive director of Pride Toronto during a contentious time for the organization. We wanted to catch up with Olivia to talk about politics, police, and this year's Pride.
Are parades any good? I'm gonna tell you a secret. Right. I don't like parades. Stand there for 3 hours. People move by. The sun is boiling down on you. I'm suffering. How do you feel about parades?
Like you, not a big fan of parades. Yeah. And the only reason why I became involved in Pride at all is because this was the parade with a difference. Mm-hmm. This was the parade where I could celebrate with a group of people, but we were celebrating something more than just honoring a day or being nationalistic. We're actually celebrating ourselves, and that's what changed me.
That was a pretty good defense of parades, or at least this one specific parade.
Exactly.
I'd say you have a pretty public job right now.
I had no idea.
For the kind of nonprofit world, I can't think of anything that is more political, public, involved. Like, what was that like making that transition?
Yeah, it's still shocking. It's also kind of shocking to be in a space where you could be a little bit more radical.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? In fact, the more you're able to walk the line between representation but pushing the status quo, the more successful you are, which is, you know, the opposite of what my experience usually is.
And with some of that change, obviously, you know, there's been this whole thing about the police. I'm not sure if you've heard about it, but the police and Pride. You're having these discussions with Toronto Police Chief Mark Saunders. What you're looking for is actual commitments for change. What would that change look like?
No easy answer to that question, but what change looks and feels like, it starts with trust. And so that relationship building piece that allows you to kind of talk openly and honestly is what I'm looking for now. That ability for us to negotiate in a way where we sort of both respect the fact that we represent different organizations and different viewpoints, but that we agree that change needs to happen. I don't particularly care what form that takes, but the outcome has to be that.
The conversation around Pride and police, around the LGBT communities in Toronto and police has changed so significantly since that first time when Black Lives Matter engaged in a sit-in just a few blocks from here during the Pride Parade in 2016. And you really wanted to draw a line, a connection between what Black Lives Matter was saying back then and what's going on today around the relationship between police and LGBT communities in Toronto. Could you go into that a little bit more for me? Draw me that connection a bit more strongly.
What I want to do is make clear that actually what queer communities of color have in this city is a long standing track record of conversations with the police about institutional discrimination. And as it then applies to Black queer people in 2016, after decades-long conversations with the police about how it looks and feels to this community, Pride, and I think rightly so, was the perfect place to because of that visibility, to let everybody know that there continued to be an issue. Well, I came into Pride then, and it was absolutely very difficult. It was difficult for me. It was difficult for a lot of people who were allied with me, who found it hard to hear what some of the LGBTQ+ community had to say about their existence. I guess when Alora Wells was found was the first time myself personally kind of thought, all right, well, here's an opportunity to use a moment in time to talk about everything surrounding that investigation and how we got to the place where it was her father on TV begging for her identification. Well, I could clearly remember Black Lives Matter saying queer, trans women of color seem to have issues with dignity when it comes to public service delivery. When one South Asian man after the other started being spoken about, and when, certainly in my mind, and I think inside those communities, there started being a conversation about immigration and shame and loathing and fear, it seemed to me that that's what Black Lives Matter were saying in 2016.
Right now, we're going into a provincial election, and the likely next premier, according to all of the polls, is a man many Torontonians are familiar with, Doug Ford, who has won his campaign on hardcore social conservative causes. He's made a few noises about if he gets elected premier, maybe he'll march in the Pride Parade. Would Pride Toronto let somebody like Doug Ford, if he was premier, march in the parade?
Yes. Yes, we would.
Yeah.
We would. We, all three parties contribute to us in a variety of ways. Certainly politically, we make space for the parties that represent this nation. And so in that sense, if he wanted to march, he would.
I mean, let's dig into that a little bit, because one of the reasons that police say can't march in uniform, one of the conversations are about leveraging the parade to implement institutional change. Why not apply the same thing to, say, the Premier of Ontario?
Because I don't know if that's where our fight is at, to be honest with you. I don't know if it isn't a reduction to talk about the parade as it is one point of many points of leverage for sure. But let's be clear that we want root and branch legislative and institutional change. And we don't want to have to leverage anything to experience the rights everybody in this country has the right to experience: equality, freedom, and the ability to move and make choices with dignity and respect. No parade is going to give us permission to ask for that.
Yeah, I'll take that. Thank you so much, Olivia.
Thank you. It's great talking to you, Archie.